It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. With me at the moment, I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
And just arrived right out of his car.
Literally just walked in.
We have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. And, of course, we need applause for you.
Thank you.
How you doing, Shawn?
Good, thanks, Gary.
And he just literally walked in as we started, man. This is great. I love this. Timing is everything in this world.
I like that.
Love it. Well, guys, we've had a busy week. It's I don't know about you, Shawn. It's pretty snowy out here in Toronto.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that out here too. Yeah.
Well, the Baggataway Championship was this weekend, and it culminated with a championship today. And this is what it looked like out in Brampton. They would have to shovel every quarter to get the lines. It was pretty amazing. Kind of looked like a CFL game over in Edmonton, around this time of year. They don't have them there this time of year, though. Have them for some time. Never mind. Anyways, before we get rolling, just a reminder to everybody that all of our shows are live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please enjoy all of the affiliates across the Stream Punk Entertainment Network, like Fly Like an Eagle, also Stream Punk Cinema, Stream Punk Combat, CFL shows, soccer, football shows, all kinds of things to your heart's content. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the shows on YouTube, which includes Stream Punk Cinema, Stream Punk Combat, as well as Stream Punk Sports, as well as All Across All the Time. If you sign up to All Across All the Time, please subscribe. Please tell all your friends, family, everybody you can see. And when you get there, you will find our library of shows, interviews, retro games, fights, press conferences, all kinds of things, and more coming all the time. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, a reminder that our show is brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. You can get to them first off by going to the QR code in the center of your screen, or by going to Instagram at sweet_60. You can email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com, or you can go directly to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Jim and the boys will take care of you promptly. Alrighty. Now, this is Native American History Month in the U.S., and as we always do, every day, I am putting up a new article, a new clip of different things to bridge the gap of understanding between Native and non-Native, to try and get more understanding between the groups and how it relates to lacrosse. I want to show just a little clip of one of the videos that I had put up the other day, just so you have an idea of what exactly is in these things. I'll give it like this. This is Soren Lyons and Alfie Jacks talking about the spirit of the stick.
In our culture, it's said that lacrosse is given to our people by the Creator. The Creator wants us to play lacrosse. The Creator watches lacrosse games. The stick that comes from nature is part of this. We thank the Creator for the sun, the rain, the soil, and everything that grows a hickory tree. We thank the Creator for hickory trees that we make the lacrosse stick out of. It's natural. It's part of nature. It's like who we are.
And the first game that we play in the spring is for the game itself, and for all the people who pick up that stick, to protect them, to help them. And so then they throw the ball in the air and the game is on.
So this game which is, you call it a game, but it's a lot more than a game. It's not just a game, with religious ceremony associated with it. It kind of puts it on a whole different level.
It's really not a sport for us. The competition is fierce and so forth, but it's, you couldn't call it a sport. It's much more than that. And you got to play with a wooden stick. There'll be no Tupperware. There's nothing spiritual about the plastic or so forth, but this, yeah. And then the people are reminded that this wood, you know, which is usually hickory, represents all the trees. And then the gut, that's all the animals. So inherent in the stick itself is the rest of the world. It's right in your hands. So everybody's involved here. It really doesn't matter who wins, because it's the energy that you're playing for this person, or for the game, or for whatever it is. That's the winner.
To make that stick from nature, that's a living piece of wood that you make that out of. And you know, the energy of that living tree transfers to the player who knows how to use that stick. And that energy is there. You can feel it when you pick up the stick. It's a matter to me of like respect and honor for the wooden stick and for the game. It's not all lost, it's not all gone. There's all these men there with wooden sticks playing the game like it used to be with the wood, and it's honor. And we can't do this game without wooden sticks.
Very interesting. I have been lucky enough to interview both Oren Lyons and Alfie Jacks in the years. And of course, we lost Alfie a couple of years ago. And just so interesting. And being up, and that's in the center of Lacrosse Universe up in Onondaga, where they interviewed them for that little clip. And I was lucky enough to a number of times get over to Alfie's shop and watch him and different stages of making the stick, and talking about all the things that go into it and using every part of the tree for one thing or another in true native fashion. And really, really interesting. And tomorrow's video is Iroquois originators of lacrosse. So every day for the rest of the month of November, we have a clip going up. And again, it's trying to show the heritage of a culture of a people and bridge the gap of understanding between native and non-native. So it's really a great opportunity to, get some more idealism and understanding of everything on both sides. And we're lucky in our position that we're able to do this and be able to give you this kind of information and things. And I love putting it together because I learn a ton every time I do this. I learned so much, and things that I had known before, or maybe didn't put in my memory bank or been reinvigorated about it. And it just is, in some of these things, just so great, and some of the stories are just so fantastic. So I hope you're enjoying this as much as I'm enjoying giving it to you, and we're enjoying putting it on to you. Now, I'd mentioned earlier in the show that it was the Canadian University Field Lacrosse Championships this weekend, called the Baggataway Cup. And this year, for the first time, it was held in Brampton. And I thought this would be an easy thing, but Mother Nature has a funny way of getting a hold of us. And in true Canadian form, we had a good little snow drop today. So ground balls were a trick over there because nothing really rolled. It just kind of sunk. And white ball and white snow is an interesting thing too. But it was the Nipissing Lakers against the Guelph Griffins in the finals. Now, interestingly enough, this is the third time or so that Guelph won, and this third time or so they've won it. Nipissing has made it to the playoffs of Baggataway before, but have never gotten past Friday. So by them getting past the Saturday through the semis into the finals already was a victory for them. But on this day, Guelph was the better team, winning 15-5 in this Snow Bowl. And wow, just amazing. It's such an amazing team, so well composed all the way through, right up until the very last second when they'd won, and of course with the trophy in the snow, and of course the happy victors in the snow. Players of the game, Ethan Lee was player of the game for Guelph. I would say with special notice and honorary mention to Joe Columbus, who was the faceoff specialist for Guelph. And I believe in the second half alone, he went 11 for 12 and was a big part of them keeping possession in this snow bowl. And really, because remember, every quarter they had to shovel the lines out because there's that much snow falling at a point. So possession was a major thing because nothing was moving very quickly. And Connor O'Toole in that for Nipissing. And although he gave up a number of goals, he made a number of incredible saves, and this could have been much more lopsided than it was. So good on Connor. Congratulations, Ethan. Congratulations to the Guelph Griffins, and congratulations to the Canadian University Field Lacrosse Association for their 40th year and an absolutely fantastic year. In the last couple of years, especially with Scott Fox as the commissioner, Tom Bolesky, a former guest of ours, as the deputy commissioner, this thing has moved leaps and bounds. And Stephen Stamp did a bang-up job on the broadcast. We had the link up if you were interested in watching it. It is still up on our page if you want to watch the game in its entirety. It is a YouTube showing. So by all means, at any time that you feel the want, it is there. Some fantastic lacrosse in crazy conditions. So please, our pleasure to give it to you as always. Well, hey, Shawn, congratulations. The Saskatchewan Rough Riders, or is it the Rough Riders? Rough Riders?
Rough Riders, one word, not two.
That's right. Yeah, we got rid of the two.
Yeah.
We made it Red Blacks.
Red Blacks. Yeah.
Red Blacks have stolen Argo stuff, though. You know, our colleague and my co-host on Thursday did an interview with the former Toronto Argonauts coach, who is now the Ottawa Red Blacks GM and head coach, Ryan Dinwiddie, and discussing everything.
I was just going to say it's funny, Gary, because that West Final, the game-winning touchdown was a former Argo, Trevor Harris, to a former Argo, Tommy Neal.
Yeah, well, you know, we put players all over the league. We just can't keep them here. Quarterbacks is our specialty when we don't have one here. We have more quarterbacks that have won Grey Cups all over the league that haven't won it with Toronto. That's I don't think anybody else have that claim to fame, you know. If we take a look back, I don't know, Winnipeg with Caleros, Harris, of course, the ones here, all the way back to Ricky Ray.
Yeah.
Bethel Thompson, all the other guys, you know, they're all over.
Was the Argo at one point, yeah.
Yeah, they're all been through this city at some point. But hey. Anyways, they play Montreal next week, which reminds me, folks, next week's show, because it is the Canadian Super Bowl, the Grey Cup, we are going to be doing our show at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So it'll be breakfast with the boys next Sunday. So please set your alarm clocks accordingly, depending on what part of the country you are. In BC, you'll be having bacon and eggs with the boys. It'll be 7 a.m. You'll be just getting home from the bar, I know. But, you know, a good cup of coffee, a good bit of Canadian bacon, we can be ready for this. And away we go. Even Sean's going to have to get up early for this one.
I want to get up early, but that's all right. It's going to be a late night anyway.
For him.
It's going to be a late night anyway. So.
For all of us. We don't party as hard as the Super Bowl parties, but boy, oh boy, those Grey Cup parties, especially if you happen to be in Winnipeg, the week of Grey Cup festivities is just something to behold.
Yeah.
I love it. I love when it's somewhere near here. so that I can go and take part in it because, man, the spirit of Edmonton and some of the other pavilions are just incredible.
Oh yeah.
And the true aspect of the league and the camaraderie, in a sense, it is a lot like the lacrosse community, which is why so many CFL fans are lacrosse fans, because it ties in part and parcel. And literally, as soon as the CFL season ends, the NLL season begins. And as soon as the NLL season ends, the CFL season begins. So we get a 24/7 slew of fantastic niche sports, shall we say. And to the commissioner of the CFL, if you are watching any of your games, you'll know that you do not need to change anything about the Canadian game. It's pretty good.
I mean, how exciting was that West final?
How exciting was that East final? It was down to the last goal that won it for Montreal over Hamilton. And it was down to a play
11 second touchdown. Yeah.
For Saskatchewan to make it, miss it, and they're waving bye-bye to BC. And, well, you would have had a Toronto boy going into the Grey Cup with Nathan Rourke. But, hey, there's always next year. Something about my time. Wasn't that we were talking about? My time. Trevor Harris.
Our time.
Battle of words. It was kind of humorous the way they were doing it. And TSN picked up on that right away. And they ran. And, it was great. And I'm glad to see that they're very cognitive over there still. But, Mike, we had some preseason action. We had preseason action in the NLL. What a fantastic thing. It's the first time this year I've been able to do this graphic, and here we are. Look at that. 7 games this weekend. Pretty amazing stuff. We're going to go through these things. And, we have a couple of things that are interesting in all of this. And the first one is we're all worried about Calgary. And we were kind of worried about Calgary a couple of years ago when they had this mass exodus. And I think they had the best year that they had in years. Well, they came out and, Noah Manning with 5 goals never hurts. Nice to make your imprint on the league. And Calgary beat Rochester on Friday night, 16-13 over at the ILA. And that took me a little off guard. I believe McCauley got into a fight that night and showed dominance as the Peterborough people were going, yeah, we know. Yeah, we know. But, it's on, folks. It's on. Preseason, it's on. Anyway, Saturday we had an early game at the track, and we have Rochester playing again. And this time they played Philadelphia. And, Rochester a little better showing over at track, winning 12-8 over the Ailing Wings. But, still preseason, week 1. Later in the day, over at the Memorial Arena in Brampton, Calgary faced Buffalo. Now, this one was a little more interesting. Calgary won their second game of the weekend, but they rolled over Buffalo. It was 13-6. Now, unless Buffalo was playing, maybe the Junior Bandits, this is a head scratcher because a lot of these guys are guys that are already on the team. So was it just, kind of, we're going to go through the motions and kind of get things together and then we'll ramp it up after? Let me put it to you guys. Shawn, what do you think? Do you think it's just a kind of, whatever?
A little bit, maybe. I mean, it is preseason, right? Some guys, especially those vets, they probably are just kind of going through the motions. I think, what you said was more surprising was Calgary and the fact that they went 2-0 in preseason. I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up. And I mean, it looks like the Noah Manning pick was a steal in the draft.
That's one hell of a pick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mike, what's your take on all this?
I mean, I might be a little concerned if I'm a Bandit fan about that showing.
Hey, Brian, thanks for being with us.
I understand it's preseason, but I mean, we've been talking for a couple of weeks now that, it's not like we've come out and said it or anything, but we've been a little baffled by some of the moves that Calgary's made.
Mm-hmm.
A little concerned about, some of the star power that they've lost. And, that it's not a stretch to kind of see what's happened in the offseason and think, well, this team's probably looking like they're going to finish in the bottom third of the league and out of the playoffs.
Right.
So for them to have a dominant performance despite it being preseason against the defending champs, I think there's a little bit of concern there.
Mike, forgive me for a second. I'm going to remove you and bring you back so that the logo isn't in your face there. That's better.
There we go.
I'm trying to look around it. So. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and it's just interesting that Buffalo will come up flat. And the reason why it concerns me is I remember Toronto last year, and it was preseason and they got shellacked in all three of their preseason games, and that entailed into the season in which they got beat, sometimes by one goal, sometimes by more than one goal in the first 6 games, which basically put them on life support right from the word go. So it's not so much the wins and losses, but it's the how should I put it? It's the culture that you set. And Buffalo has a whole lot higher standard, being that they've just won 3. Most of the team's intact. They only lost Cloutier and Fraser. And they have some free agent signings that surely took care of that. So, again, it's just one game, so I'm not that concerned. However, a Spockian eyebrow has been lifted that, should we be concerned about this, or is it just going through the motions?
And I know it's just one guy, but I'm just curious. I haven't really seen any stats on it, but how much of that did Matt Vince ever actually play in that preseason game, especially if you've got an aging goaltender? So I think that's a big, big chunk if he didn't play much.
Very, very correct in this statement. I 100%.
That is, and
yeah.
And let's flip to the other side of the coin, maybe. We've talked about it before. Specifically with Buffalo. Well, first of all, this is more or less unprecedented. A team going for a 4th title, other than Rochester and
it was 13-6, Brian. 13-6, and I believe it was 8-1 at the half. So.
Other than Rochester in 2015, trying for a 4th, we've never seen this, but we've talked about it time and again, especially with Buffalo. A lot of these guys just playing and playing and playing and playing year round. They've been nonstop for
4 years.
Pretty much ever since we got out of COVID.
Yeah.
And got out of that break between NLL championships, a bunch of guys playing in the PLL or in Senior A during the summer. A handful of these guys playing Worlds, World Field and World Box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been full-time lacrosse for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Especially Dane Smith,
elite
Josh
levels
Burns.
Yeah. I think sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I was going to say, just, we've talked about it to the point where, we've seen a guy like Matt Vince who, despite his age, phenomenal shape, playing some of the best lacrosse of his career, but he's taken a break in the summer. He's played less when he was in Peterborough, kind of during their run of Man Cups. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Gary kind of touched on it. That's, I guess, where I'm kind of coming from, where I say I don't think it's a big concern is it's one preseason game, but if this becomes a trend, oh yeah, I would definitely be concerned.
Yeah, just something to keep our eyes on. Josh Sanderson had this to say about his team's 2-0 performance over the weekend.
Rochester had a lot better lineup. The Buffalo was sitting out a bunch of guys, so we're not going to put too much stock into the wins, but we're trying to play a certain style, and I thought we did that very well in the first half in both games. Dip off a little bit in the second half, but then I thought we found it again in the fourth. So just trying to find that consistent effort for 60 minutes.
And what can you say about the rookies? Have they shown you kind of what you've wanted to see through 2 weeks in camp?
Yeah, for sure. They're doing really well. They're competing hard. Getting the experience and learning as we go. So we got next week off, and then in 2 weeks we'll have some more practices. We can fix a few things that we need to fix, and then just kind of getting the chemistry still, because obviously we lost some veterans. So just getting the chemistry with all 7-8 guys up there is very important for us.
And just the last one, what's the overall message to the guys now going into week 3, I guess? I know you have the week off, but following that.
Well, not to get comfortable, right? I think our conditioning's been very good the first 2 weekends, and you can't take a step back in this league, right? So hopefully, our guys are good. They'll keep putting the work in, and then we want to try to be better in 2 weeks than we were this weekend. And that's just going to be the story of the year, trying to get better, each week for us.
Absolutely. Dawson comes up with another really good point. Achieving a 4-peat would elevate the Bandits to the greatest of North American sports dynasties, joining Yankees, Canadians, Celtics, and the Edmonton Eskimos/Elks of the CFL. Last team to do it, the Houston Comets. That's a long time ago. So interesting things upcoming. So lots of outside storylines to go with this. Moving along, Halifax and Colorado played at the ILA on Saturday, and Halifax won 14-13 over Colorado in a little bit of a slugfest. Again, really great to see these teams firing on all cylinders, both of them. Colorado with a few moves there. Halifax also with a few moves, but mostly standing put. And, of course, the big signing this week was Clark Peterson, inking a couple-year deal and staying with the only team that he wants to play for. We head on over to Toronto again, and this time in the evening. And the Toronto Rock, with their new star-studded lineup, faced the Saskatchewan Rush, fresh off their finals finish last year. And it was Toronto in an absolute, another slobber knocker, really. 17-10, the Rock beat Saskatchewan. Now, it's fine and dandy to look at that, but of course, Skiliano only played one quarter. Kostiuk played a couple, and Mahoney, the third string goalie.
Yeah.
He played one as well. To take away from this, though, to continue with the upswing, Josh Dahlwick had 4 goals in this game. Chris Boucher had a hat trick. Now, Owen Hiltz had 3 of the prettiest goals that I have seen in a long time, especially in a preseason game. He made an absolute exclamation point that he is here to be on the lineup. He had a hat trick. And CJ Kirst had a pair of goals, really fitting in with the Toronto chemistry. Nick Rose had a stellar first half, allowing 5 goals on, I believe it was 17 shots. On 22 shots. And Troy Holochuk allowed 5 goals on 23 shots. So both Toronto Rock goalies looked good in this performance against a very, very strong Saskatchewan team. Brock Haley had 4 goals. Zach Mans had a pair, as well as singles from a few others, Church and a couple other guys in the lineup. But overall, I'd say both teams look pretty good coming out in their first game. But the way Toronto ended last year and the way Toronto's season was last year, this gives a lot of renewed vigor in the Rock atmosphere and even with its fan base. Shawn, I'm going to throw it over to you. Do we read anything to this, or again? It's
Yeah,
just
no, I was gonna say, from the other side with Saskatchewan, I'm not pushing the panic button whatsoever on this.
No, I don't
Like I
think
said, yeah, you used all three of your goaltenders. You know that's not going to stick around. You know who your starter is. You know what you're getting from him. Like you said, you got Brock Haley, Zach Mans, Bobby Kidd, I believe, scored. Robert Church, Accioni. It was nice to see him. On a transition, as well as Barnwell. So your goal scorers are scoring. You used all three of your goaltenders, so you're going to see a little bit of a lopside there. I don't see there being any real issue there. It was just, trying a few things, playing a few younger guys. I wouldn't push the panic button whatsoever. And like you said, Gary, I think it meant more for Toronto putting up those numbers than it did for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, but to say, I just find it to be, something uplifting enough that with the Rock, when all the headaches they had last year, just trying to get it all together. And remember, they don't have Corey Small. The one guy who was silent most of last year, who looked good yesterday, was Dan Craig. And of course, Mark Matthews is back in quarterbacking it all, which makes it even the more. But again, Josh Dowick, I've known him since he was a kid. I love seeing him. I love seeing him just up the game even more. Every year, it has gone to another level of achievement. And, the sky's the limit for him. And it's fantastic that he has taken over. Again, in the summer, we saw him with the C. He's taken over a good leadership role. But here with the Rock team for NLL, he is fitting in really nicely into an already potent offense. Latrell Harris, a healthy Latrell Harris, he is a sight. And he had a couple of big hits yesterday, showing that he is raring to go as well. So looking forward to a lot of things. Next week, Colorado's in town at the track to face the Toronto Rock. I will be at that game, and look forward to seeing many of you there. We had a couple of games today. First off, we had Georgia and Ottawa playing this morning, and Georgia came away with an 11-10 victory over Ottawa. And we had Vegas and Oshawa get together later in the day. Vegas won 12-10. Dyson Williams with a hat trick for Oshawa. But again, great to see everybody getting out, getting their reps here. Now, guys, anything that stands out to you of recent? Again, I come back to why in the heck can we not see a Katoni in an NLL uniform right now? Both of them are viable NLL players. Both of them are established NLL players. Both had great summers for Peterborough. This is one. There's a number of other players where I've scratched my head that they don't have jobs. And again, it comes down to, should the league be looking at expansion for the talent that's not getting even training camp opportunities? Mike?
I would love to see. I would love to see expansion, and we've talked about some of the various cities so much. I mean, at this point, there's got to be some sort of snag with a place like Winnipeg, where I would like to think that it's not like what Shawn's experience with the Oilers at Edmonton. Not being interested at all, not allowing. But, I mean, does anyone know whether Jets ownership has even a iota of interest in being involved?
It would be worth looking into, I would say.
Yeah.
I think a number of things come into why we haven't seen anything at all. And one, of course, was the CBA. If we didn't know there was a season, why would we be trying to bring more people into it? But being that taken care of, I realize that the league is spending a lot of time with the Unboxed program. I'm thinking they need to start spending some time with the boxed program, because there's a lot of players that are going to lose out on an opportunity, because if they're in the prime now, maybe you can sit them for a year, maybe you can sit them for 2 years. But eventually they're going to say enough is enough and move on to different careers. Very, very strong. Very, very strong across the league. Righties, I don't think, are nearly as strong. I also wonder, Dawson, about the goaltending. Do we have the goaltending that would be able to suffice for, say, 2 teams is what I'm looking at in expansion, where it's not really leaving things thin?
Yeah, that's kind of where I sit too, Gary. I don't know whether the goaltending is deep enough. And I guess it was mentioned on Tay Jenner's podcast. I guess the Oilers were involved with this unboxed in Edmonton. So who knows where that lies now? I mean, because I agree, expansion needs to be done. It should be done for the amount of talent, but it has to be done right. We don't need another Panther City. Even, we don't need another situation like we're seeing in Philly right now, where the ownership just is just done with it.
We had that in Rochester as well.
Doesn't care.
Right?
Yeah.
Bullock just decided no more, and luckily Seneca Nation stepped in over there. I also want to put to the fact that I don't think going into a new area, as the league is apt to do, going, yep, we'll teach them. I don't think that's where we need to go right now. I think we need to go into a place where they already are familiar with the box game, and we can build from there. Now, granted, that's predominantly into the East. And again, I don't want to, I would actually like to find a U.S. city. Baltimore would be one, even though they've tried and failed before, but they have been part of this since the beginning. And I would really like to see if they could do that again with a good ownership group in an area that knows box, and would be in a center where they could actually have rivalries and a fan base. Just like I would think that Boston deserves another opportunity, just not at the Boston Garden. I don't think that would be a building that would be suited for this. But Eduardo, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Eduardo.
That's my thinking in this, is that an Eastern U.S. city where box is familiar with their fans, and that would work. Pittsburgh's another good idea. Thank you, Eduardo. Yeah. But again, I don't think that the wherever the Penguins are playing, I don't think, unless the Penguins want to be involved in it, would be a good place for them. But again, we talked about this. We talked about this when we had Wayne Colley on the show, right? Is that if we keep putting it into arenas where they're max 10,000 or 8,000, that's the limit without a TV contract that these teams can make, which keep them a fringe sport. If we're going to grow, we're going to have to put it into bigger arenas where they have the ability eventually to be able to fill that upper bowl and get the 15 to 17,000, like what happens in Buffalo now, because that didn't always happen in Buffalo. If we're able to do that, then teams make money. And if we can get a TV contract to go along with it, even better, because now you have layers again, which is what Sakavich was trying to do originally, was layers upon layers for owners to make money.
Yeah, I may put a caveat to that, though, Gary, because I do agree with you. Don't get me wrong. But the issue is you have to get that and those numbers in that arena. Because if you're having 18,000 arena and you're only putting in 7,000, 8,000, even 9,000, that rent that you're paying to get into that arena, you're losing big bucks.
Well, that's been the problem so far, and that's what Jamie was talking about back when we're not yet with the CBA, of how much money they're losing. And Dawson, you're right. There is a ton of goaltending out there. I'm just curious, is it all starter? Right?
I see a lot. I was going to say, I see
Abrams. I don't think O'Toole's there yet. I don't think Kaiser can do a full season yet, but they will.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see a lot of young names there. or kind of improving still.
Well, don't forget Alex Bouquet's back also in a tryout with Vegas as well to add to that list, right?
Right.
You know, Kells and Getty look great. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's you know, I think back to the old Toronto Rock days where you'd have Watson and you'd have Poulin, or you know, you take a look at how many goalies Toronto put out over those years, and you know that made it around the league. Anthony Cosmo comes to mind as well, who had a Hall of Fame career around the league. You know, I think about Boston, I think about Buffalo, all the different stops that Cos had, and you know, we have cities that have that. Because again, you look at Rochester and you have Ryland Hartley, also have Hutchcraft, and you know, both are starting goalies. But you know, or you take a look at when O'Toole develops himself, and he's behind Del Bianco. Well, he's not going to be able to see much time there, so he's not going to be able to spread his wings there. But, you know, in the meantime, until there's another team, I agree with that as well. I think that I think Junior needs to come up and do the NLL rules in that, which is the plastic sticks, and I'd also use the bigger nets. MSL, Junior, all that. Because we get into that thing where a couple of years ago, I remember Alex Bouquet had just a spectacular year in summer, and Buffalo signed him. And all of a sudden, it wasn't spectacular anymore. The bigger net of the NLL got him because things that would be sailing into the corner of the rink were sailing into the corner of the net in the NLL with guys that are that good.
I was gonna say another thing, Gary. I just kind of shooting the shit here a little bit, but we're talking about goaltenders, especially those ones that are kind of stuck as, you know, second stringers. This is where a farm system would really, really, really be handy, especially in like the ALL, because then you can send him down to start and start seeing those live bullets.
Yep.
Before bringing him back up and then developing.
Well, for the last couple of years, I've been on that platform of hopefully getting the ALL to be like the AHL, and we are 2 teams shy in the ALL, which are, you know, easily done in the West, because there's been so much, shall we say, buildup in there that the 4 teams I don't think are enough, and to put 6 teams in there, I think would be fantastic, and that would definitely work in the favor of everybody would have their own. Plus, you could put your own coaching strategy, because I always find it strange that you can go up from an ALL team, and it's happened, and you've gone to, excuse me, Rochester this week, and you played because so-and-so got hurt. And you played for them for 2 weeks, and then, well, you came back, and you came back down to ALL. 3 weeks later, you're now playing for San Diego because they needed somebody. But you already know all of their schemes, and now you're going to learn all of their. Wouldn't it be easier just to have them that you're learning one scheme for one, and you can do what you're doing right through your system, which would also mean that you could develop your coaching for, if it doesn't work at the major league level, you already have 2 or 3 coaches ready, and you're developing coaches, which means that we don't have the same guys all the time being regurgitated, because we never see anybody new really come into the NLL. We see somebody from there, whether he's an assistant or whatever, but he's going from here to here. He's going from here to here. He's going out, and then somebody else is coming from up in the league still. That would be a decent thing as well. We already see that with some of the teams, but again, there's not enough of them. There's no money in them, which creates a problem. The ALL right now is a pay-to-play league, but that would be an influx of money, wouldn't it? And not being the summer, but keeping it during the winter would keep sticks in these guys' hands, and it would keep your season going. Whereas if you sustain an injury, you would go in from your draft picks, not seeing the best available guy here and there, but into your draft picks where you can develop your draft picks. Means you don't have to cut your draft picks at the end of training camp.
The other thing I see too is this kind of a similar situation with the juniors too, is now because WLA and MSL, I mean, they're technically minor sports still, right? Because they're still under, a senior A label. You're basically going now between two systems, like the Canadian Lacrosse Association under the minor and the National Lacrosse League, where you need almost that independent league as a farm system as the ALL.
Well, I can bring another thing to you because to work off of your point there is that we're so messed up in Canada is that every province has its own set of rules. And when we get these headaches, when we get the national championships of what set of rules we're going to play in, and it tends to be whatever province we happen to be in, which is ridiculous. At least with the ALL, they are with NLL rules and all the NLL fixins, shall we say. So it wouldn't be a hard case that if a player is playing ALL to make an adjustment by coming up, other than, of course, it's a heck of a lot quicker. Yeah. Right. Yeah, of course. And if you need to read up on anything about Lacrosse Canada and the follies that ensue with them, have a look at Think Lacrosse, the website. And Pierre Filion puts a good spin on a lot of the follies at Lacrosse Canada, in which we're so backwards up here that the provinces tell Lacrosse Canada what's going on. At least in the U.S. with U.S. Boxla, they are the governing body as what Lacrosse Canada should be. And they dictate what goes on. I still don't really know what Lacrosse Canada does. And a couple of articles just absolutely raised my ire as well as the hair on the back of my neck when I was looking at the shell game of money and where it's going and why they're so in debt and where is it going?
Yeah, just some of the guys I've heard too. Really, it's one association that really runs across Canada, and I think, well, it's the province with the biggest amount of players, obviously.
Well, that would be fantastic if the PLL and NLL could actually work together.
Yeah.
I don't think the NLL, unless they put together the 30-game season that they're talking about forever, I don't think that they need to have all these bye weeks all over the place, and they can condense their season where playoffs start middle of April. And then we could actually be done in the middle of May, which would mean PLL could start right then and there, kind of like the MSL and WLA do. And they start without players because they're in playoff games. And work from there. To me, it's a no-brainer. But then again, I don't understand why there's so many bye weeks at the moment. And we seem to be starting earlier and earlier. Not a few years ago were we in January. Then we were at the first week of December. We're now in the last week of November where we're starting, which is fine by me. I'm happy to have it because we have a lull from Man Cup to training camp, which is now. So if we started earlier, hey, great. To me, that's a no-brainer. That solves a lot of problems right there, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think going back to that partnership between NLL and PL, again, lacrosse getting in lacrosse's way, they have to acknowledge each other exist first.
Yeah.
And we really have that issue. It's right there in front of us.
Yeah. And exactly what I'm saying, Dawson. Exactly what I'm saying. And it's fine in the sense that I actually would like to see it earlier, because the weeks around Christmas are a little dicey with everybody with family, everybody traveling all over the place, Christmas parties, other things going on, work being insane if you're in retail or anything else, that you're really not, as a fan, that's concerned about whether you're making it to that game that week. Whereas before, in November, yeah, you can go. If we again, we take a look at track. Track looked pretty good last night. Was it packed? No, but it looked pretty good. And it will be over the next 2 weeks, I'm sure, as people get back and shake the rust off, so to speak, in fandom, to take a look at some of these other things. And
yeah,
you
in
know,
the U.S., I was going to say in the U.S., Thanksgiving usually isn't an issue. I mean, you see NFL games on Thanksgiving. The Cowboys and the Detroit Lions have been hosting Thanksgiving Day games for years now, and the stadiums are always packed for those games, despite the holiday. So,
right. I don't see an issue with that. Yeah. I see your point in that, but we already have problems with MSL and WLA if you're not named Peterborough, Six Nations, or Victoria. And attendance is really the janitorial staff and whoever's selling the hot dog at the behind the concession stand.
Yeah, I would add New West in there, and I think it's more so a logistics thing more than anything. A pen and paper.
On the best of days, Langley is an impossible place to get to. On the best of days,
yeah,
especially if you want to make it home. And if you live on the island, forget about it. Forget about it.
Oh yeah.
Here in Coburg is another thing, because again, availability of the Coburg Community Center, because they have hockey running in there as well, and they put the ice down so early in there that actually in the playoffs they wound up having to go to Port Hope to play games because they didn't have the arena. So different thing altogether. Then you go from Meat Locker to Mexico City. It's unbelievable hot. Unfortunately, what you're doing there is you're changing 100 and some odd years of history to the NLL Cup. I think a lot of diehards that aren't NLL diehards would have a little bit to say on that one. Still, now, will it much matter? I don't know, but the Man Cup is still the Man Cup. And
I was actually sorry, guys. I was just going to say, actually, I think, talk to some players, they'd probably actually rather win a Man Cup just for the prestige.
Depends on what side of the border you're on.
Yeah.
If you are on the Canadian side of the border, the prestige of a Man Cup is still the Stanley Cup of lacrosse. The NLL is for their paycheck. The prestige is with that. That's why you didn't see a lot of those guys in the PLL. You saw them with Six Nations. The Six Nations Bandits.
Yep.
Because they want to win Man Cups. And the prestige that goes with it. And being part of the media stuff with MSL and OSL, I really do love the tradition of those leagues. And I really hope that we don't lose it, because the NLL swallows it all up, and the almighty dollar. And that would be a dreadful shame for a lot of things. Remember, we do have differences in rules. We do have differences in it. I'm not kidding myself at all, and I don't think that I'm kidding myself by saying Peterborough does almost the same thing. However, the other teams in the league, if anything, we would make Peterborough and Six Nations play each other all summer long. And let's let the other teams try and play for the amateur championship. But again, if you look like a team like Oakville, what Jamie's been doing for years has been using it as an audition for the Toronto Rock. And I saw Mitch Disnew here long before he became a Toronto Rock.
Well,
But
that's just
the
going to
rest
say,
of it, as for the rest of it, Brampton has no money. Ever since Brennan Steele left, there's no money there. Coburg, that's there's not much money in there either. Brooklyn is finally getting on the plus side. I had the vice president of Brooklyn Lacrosse Club on there, and the thing that we're talking about off air as well as on air was the branding of it, and losing the Redmen name pissed off a lot of people there, and it was one of those things that if they could use the name but not with a native connotation, because the Canadian idea of the Redcoats from way back in the English times and using an English bobby with instead of a bayonet, a lacrosse stick, and just being the Red Men, all of a sudden you've alleviated that idea. And maybe you can go back to the original branding.
actually, I just want to hit your point you mentioned, Gary, about amateur. And I think that's the other thing about WLA and MMSL. Like the money aside, and we've already seen it in the senior B level, and I think it's starting to creep up in the A a little bit as well, as like this is supposed to be amateur lacrosse.
Right.
But it really isn't.
Well, they finally put the rules in OSL because a couple of years ago it was just ridiculous that we really didn't have MSL. We had MSL 2. And it was insane with the Prezi over in Oakville, and watching every NLL team, including the Oakville Rock, which are now the Hamilton Bengals, because that interest went away quickly when that didn't work. So there has to be a way, but then again, the Ladner Pioneers, only reason they didn't win it this year is because of that rule.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the entire NLL lineup that they had before, including Christian Del Bianco.
And that's the thing. I think that conversation is creeping up into senior A, is that like should, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying the conversation there is should NLL players be allowed because it's amateur. And I agree with you. Like I said, I don't think it's right or wrong here. I mean, it's just a conversation that's been brought up because I don't know how you do it too. Like, what do you do about summer ball then if you're, kiboshing pro players to jump back down to amateur during the summer? Then you completely, cut out summer ball for those guys, which is not right either. So I don't know how you would do it, but there's that conversation
of it, right? You get a team like Owen Sound, which has got predominantly guys who are amateur. There's a few guys going to the NLL, but predominantly it's amateur. And guys that maybe will get an opportunity to try, but mostly won't. And you're going to put them against Six Nations, and maybe they hang out for a period, maybe 2, but it ain't going to happen for 60 minutes. And what happening was Six Nations would put together 10 or 12 minutes of, their caliber play. They'll score 8 or 10 goals in that time, and they'll win 10-2. And then the rest of the game, kind of Harlem Globetrotter in it, and that's all it became. It became a Harlem Globetrotters event.
Because that's the thing, right? Like MSL and WLA they're supposed to be amateur. I mean, let's, like you said, Peterborough, Six Nations, even if you want to look west, New West, Victoria, those are pro teams. They are not amateur.
Right. But you see, we come back to the point of we got to keep these players playing year round as well, and they want to.
Yeah.
So Brooklyn's a great club, Dawson. I went to Prague with a lot of them on the Gales, and you want heart, they have it. And Deacon Knott is going to be a name that everybody will remember in the NLL. He is the real deal in net, and he is your consummate athlete. It doesn't matter if he's going to play baseball, he would be a star there. You can play lacrosse, he's a star there. He's just a consummate athlete. But it's also these guys, and again, we talked about this a number of times. We talk about character and playing for each other. and playing for the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey. And that's exactly what the Brooklyn Merchants are. And the organization from top to bottom is A1 and really should be the blueprint on how you put together a senior B team, because it checks all the boxes on what we want and what we try and teach our kids and all the lessons that are involved there. And when you take a look at, guys like the Pfeiffer brothers, who are fantastic. And when they're playing with, some of the others there, the Mariniers or the Eddie Renaults or Adam Peroni, these are all fantastic players who all deserve opportunities in the NLL, but really have nowhere to go at the moment. Because, again, one of the problems is once you get out, it's tough to get back in. Ask Brady Kiernan. He brought it up in an interview when I had with him back a number of months ago as well, that he felt very lucky to get another opportunity. Now he's got the knee injury, and hopefully next year he'll have another one. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, you take a look at the, when Snake Island won the Prezi this year and the elation of that team. And, yeah, they had a number of players that were in the NLL and mixed with a number of players that are and are going to be. But it was a nice blend. And they had a terrific game plan. That's where the coaching came in my eyes, is they knew exactly the Brooklyn team that they were going to face. They knew exactly how Brooklyn was going to be successful on them. And they did everything they could to make sure that there was no inside play or very little inside play, keeping everything to the outside and frustrating them all night long, that eventually they would start taking penalties as well. And it's exactly what happened. And they wound up winning. And, to Brooklyn's credit, they made a game of it, because for a while there, it doesn't look like it was going to be close. And they made a game of it. And then Snake Island just put the foot on the gas, and they won the Prezi. And kudos to them, but kudos to Brooklyn as well, who are on the upswing. Every one of them are guys who are on their way to the NLL or top of their game of Senior B, and that's where they're going to be. But, I have no question in my mind about that team in Brooklyn. They're fantastic. And the organization, even with what Gavin Prout has done with the Brooklyn Lacrosse Club MSL and the things that are going on there, where now there is a little bit more money. And what we brought up, and listen to me on this one, is now that you have an NL team in Oshawa, is that they are looking to get partnered up with Oshawa so that they can actually advertise, that people in the area that already live in the area know that Brooklyn is there in the summer. Why not let another 10,000 people know about it? And when it is, it can't hurt. You already have, and I didn't know this, but kids already under 15, I think, get in for free. It used to be if you wore your OLA jersey, you got in for free. But now it's all kids get in for free. Just teenagers and adults pay. Well, why are we not bringing our kids there?
Can't go wrong with that.
No, they already have the OLA festival in the summer for a couple of weeks, and you have all these games and all these kids and all these things going through there. And all the things that were impediments before was, it's too hot. Well, they have air conditioning now. Well, it's cement. Well, they have turf there now. Well, for the adults, there's nowhere for them to go and whatever. Oh, yes, you do. There's a bar in the arena, and there's a bar beside the arena, and there's another restaurant bar across the street, and there's all kinds of things. And you're by the water. So if it's a day game, you can even go and, it's beautiful over there. And it's accessible. It's right off the highway, about 5 minutes off the highway. So there's all kinds of selling points to it. And the GO station's there too. The train, for those of you who don't know the area. Sorry. So there's all kinds of upswing to this. But it comes down to using the Oshawa Firewolves to your advantage. And the Oshawa Firewolves should want to, because a number of their players play on that team. And why wouldn't you want to have your crowd continue to cheer? And remember, MSL, you're a lot more accessible than the NLL idea, which tries to make it like the NHL, in which is almost impossible to meet up with your favorite players other than event night. Whereas in the MSL, you could be walking your car with one. Just little things to help build a fan base. Market to the kids. Don't market to the adult. The faux pas that I've been saying forever. Because if you sell it to an adult and you market to the party, hence the mill years, right? Right back to the old posters that we have here. Right? Sponsored by Coors Light. Well, that's great if you want to sell one ticket. If you sell and market to the kids, not only do you sell a ticket to the kid, but you're not going to just drop them off at the arena and hope for the best. Mom and dad are coming. Brother and sister are coming. Aunt and uncle are probably coming. Grandpa and grandma are probably coming. How many tickets you sold them? That's from one family. Now, he came back and he loved it, and he told his buddies. And his buddies had to go tell their parents that they're going to go. That's how you build a fan base for a long time. Because as soon as you get to the kids there, well, guess what? They grow up to be teenagers, and hopefully some of them are playing and some of them are just watching, which is why you need to build grassroots programs, because House League is as important as putting the money into the junior programs, because you want to develop a love in these kids forever in these games, even if they don't want to be an NLL player. They still have money from their positions to be a fan. And if they have a love for the game, they're going to come. And if you get them when they're young, as they grow up, they're going to be older with their own families and keep it in the family. And maybe one of their kids is going to be the next Jeff Teed. Or at least, Bob and Joe who come to every single game and everywhere in the arena, in the area. Or they're in Brooklyn on Wednesday, they're in Peterborough on Thursday, they're in Coburg on Sunday, and really only have to spend a half hour driving one way or the other way to go to these games. And in the winter, they're going to Oshawa games. They're going to drive over to Hamilton and catch some Toronto games or Buffalo games or Rochester games, depending if their team's playing or not. Or Laval or Ottawa, depending on what's going in there. That's how you build it. Again, we're not talking about MIT type things. We're not looking for any of the equations that are going to be, the next theory of relativity. Business sense and where to go and how to build. It doesn't have to be complex, but it does have to be consistent. And you can't go one direction and go, oh, no, we're going to change it. Oh, no, we're going to change, because nobody can follow along, including your fan base. And that just makes your fan base upset. And be transparent. Fans will get over almost anything if they're in the know. If they think you're trying to pull something over their eyes, once you lose them, they're gone. They're gone. Be transparent. And we're at a stage now, because we have the Olympics in a couple of years, so we're going to have 280 more countries viewing the game that we love. And we want to make sure that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, that we put our best foot forward. I have no doubt that it being in LA is an absolute advantage, because the PLL offices are there, and I'm sure the Rabels are already in with any of the camera companies. Any of the media companies are going to be doing anything about this, about how to shoot this, that to be in the best thing. Hence, we have these February tournaments from the PLL. Practice, but not just practice for the game itself. It's practice for the media and how to do this the best way that they can, because you only get one opportunity at a first impression. One. That's it. mess it up, and nobody's coming. Do great, and we're going to have all kinds of people interested and looking to try and find more, and everybody wins. Maybe not right away, but down the road, everybody wins. Guys, what's your thoughts? Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all those points. I think the warm up, if you will, it's going to be vitally important to the 28 Olympics and how it's presented.
Yeah,
absolutely. Shawn, what do you think?
I agree, and you mentioned PLL's probably already got their hands in this, being in LA. So should the NLL, I think. I know it's not box lacrosse, but that PLL is going to get a ton of publicity out of this. You need to be right in there, 2 feet in as well, trying to promote the game and promoting the box game through that as well. Because really, what is sixes? It's really a hybrid, right, of the two. So, I mean, it's not going to be that hard to promote box out of sixes. So I would like to see NLL kind of not just kind of shy away. Say, oh, well, the PLL, that's their thing. No, dive in there, get your feet wet, and get involved as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And remember, if you leave it all to the PLL, there will be no NLL history. They will be PLL history. So they better get in there and get a fair balance. I'm sure they will. But you want to be fair and balanced, that people know about the box game as well. And that there are clips of the box game. One of the things that I think that we're missing in a lot of these areas now is the advertising, but it doesn't have to be complex. I had said to Jamie Dawick years ago, before Rock games, at least when they were, especially when they were Scotiabank back in Air Canada Center days, he would have a 2-minute clip of the last game put together. And it would show all the excitement. If there was a fight, if there was a good goal, if there was a dive, if the fans and everything. And all you had to do, and it wouldn't cost you anything, is for credit, take one of the university kids to photo edit it, take any 30-second clip out of any of these little montages. And that would be your ad. And show 20 seconds of it. And your last 10 seconds of it is game on Saturday, so-and-so, tickets call this.
I'll take another step further too, Gary, because you're talking about, getting more younger people in. Actually, I just got back from a Moose Jaw Warriors game. They have something called Heroes of the Game. They're companies that buy tickets for school kids to attend the hockey game. And then they are announced, like, here are, up on the big screen, here are the companies that bought tickets for the school kids. Now you're bringing kids in to watch the product, and the companies are still getting something out of it, and the team's still making money because those tickets are still bought.
Absolutely. We've said forever. A number of people have brought it to me, and I've agreed, and we've gone to, is that they should be going and putting it in all the universities, like the U of T in Toronto, York, Carleton in Ottawa, and wherever else, the University UBC out in BC. And, you show your student ID and have a discount for it, or a student ID discount, whatever, using that number online nowadays.
Yeah.
And working it that way so that you can bring those kind of youth to the game as well and open it up. It can't hurt. And collecting 3/4 of the money instead of none of the money, to me, is a win. You're not losing anything in this.
So if you lose 3/4 of that money, it's future generations. So in the long run, are you really losing money?
No, in the long run, you're actually gaining it, because if I have yet to bring someone to a game who wanted their time back. Most people are asking me where they can go to the next game, where they can get tickets. Can I bring them to another game or whatever? And they're hooked. And it doesn't take a lot. Now that we have the game of the week again with the NLL on linear TV, which is important. I always listen, social media, that's all fine and good for us. That's all fine and good. That's preaching to the choir. We're going to watch it on a washing machine if we could. It doesn't make a difference. Pay $10, pay whatever. That's fine, no problem. Try and get a new person to pay $10 or $5 for something that they have no idea what they're about to watch on TV. Not happening. But I have tried this before and sat with a tablet in a bar, at the bar, and had a game on the tablet. And before you know it, there are people over my shoulder watching this game because it's addictive, because it's fast-paced and it's athletic, downright rough at times, and it catches attention quickly. I've done it before where I've Chromecast something up into a bar TV just to gauge reaction. And before you know it, the conversations are here, and then all of a sudden, more people are looking over there, and they're starting to talk about the game. Do they all know everything about the game? No. Do they need to? No. It's pretty basic, for the general rules. Take ball, put in net. If you're on defense, try stop ball. Pretty basic. Once you actually get there, then they can start learning it. But the general concept is same, especially if you're here in a place like Toronto where, hockey is here. You pretty much got that idea already. Take hockey and basketball, mesh them together, and you pretty much got everything that we need to know. And we happen to have fans of both in a sports bar, believe it or not. So, again, we can't overthink the problem nor the solution. But it comes down to marketing. And again, coming back to my point of linear TV, is that the bar owner, here in Toronto at least, can turn on TSN and whatever is on prior to the game, and then the game comes on. They don't have to worry about the TV. It's on. It's sports. People will be talking and watching and whatever, as though it was really a Leaf game or a Raptors game or Montreal Canadiens, whatever. Doesn't matter. And here's Toronto Rock game. Or you're watching Halifax and Ottawa. Or you're watching Las Vegas and San Diego, whatever, for the late game. Doesn't matter. It's a fast-paced thing that catches attention on the screen. And then the next question is, what is it? NLL. Have to go on the phone. Now you got people thinking about it. Now you got people talking about it. And who are your best ad executives? The fan base, the people. If they're talking, then they're talking to everybody, all their friends. They're talking about what they did. I saw this great thing on the weekend. And that's how it gets marketed. Not an ad executive sitting in an office going, okay, if we do this and put it on the TV and hopefully, so on, this demographic will watch. Get it out to the people. Let them. It's what I had told when I talked to Oliver Marty when Oshawa first went in there in the summer. My idea was simple. You put Dyson Williams on a billboard in front of the arena. You put some Firewolves players in uniform on the side. And at first, when everybody was talking about it, even people who didn't know anything about lacrosse, put 2 words in big letters. Shop local, since Dyson Williams is from Oshawa. And then Oshawa Firewolves tickets and a number. Then a month later, put more information on that. However you want to do it. But let the people start talking about it.
And sorry, I just want to take your thought about the TV deal one step further, Gary. NL keeps saying we're going to be the next major league. What do the major leagues have? They have TV deals. They couldn't care 2 crops about, streaming services and this and that.
Right.
Their money comes from TV deals. So if you want to be the next major league, you have to have a TV deal.
Right. Otherwise, owners are going to lose all kinds of money. But if they can actually get a real TV deal, then all of a sudden, plus then you're going to start getting the big players wanting to be part of the league again. This isn't just a throwaway and a tax write-off. Or when you start seeing, guys starting to lose money at a certain point, they're just saying, "Man, I don't want to be an owner anymore." Then we have problems.
Yeah.
That's what the past has been filtered with, just littered with all kinds of guys that it was all cool and stuff to own a franchise, and then when they saw that it wasn't all making money, it was like, maybe I just.
Well, I guess that's the thing. Again, I'm not saying that what they have right now is a major league deal, but you got to start somewhere. But if you lose even that small TV deal and you have no TV deal, you're 5 steps back from even being close to a major league.
Yeah, we're much closer to where we want to be now. My thoughts personally is I love it, but again, it's a preaching to the choir idea. NLL Plus, I love it because I can catch all the games there. I can do it at any time. I can catch all the other stuff, all the little things there, interviews. I can catch clips. I can catch 20 minutes of the game in a compact thing. It's got all of the, but for a new fan, again, being free, I think that's a much better platform. But I think it needs to be marketed more. It needs to be marketed everywhere. If you are a fan of the NLL, you know it. If you are not a fan of the NLL, but maybe you're dipping your toe in there, you're kind of flipping the channels on TV for TSN or ESPN or wherever the game is. You're not going to a Plus anything. NLL Plus, I love it myself. And I think it's the greatest thing that they've put together yet of all their trials of social media things, other than the Twitter one. Yeah, it was even worse, Dawson, a number of years ago. Jamie, when he first bought the Toronto Rock, put all his home games on, and it was out of his own pocket to try and build back the attendance from 6,000 or 7,000 that it had dropped to, back to 10 or 11 or 12,000 that he got it up to in the 2010, 2011, around that seasons. Then he stopped doing that, and again, it started tanking again in the city of Toronto, hence the move to Hamilton and all the other things going. But, the Plus thing, it's almost it's a pay-to-play thing. But you got to get the games out there somehow. When you start looking at the amount of money in just league fees that the owners have to put out that nobody seems to know anything about, everybody thinks the owners just are making money left, right, and center. Attendance is up and this, and attendance is up in some places. Buffalo's making money. Colorado's probably making money. Calgary, I would still say, is making money. The rest of the league, I don't think so. And without a TV deal long term, we start getting into the murky waters, so to speak.
Yeah, and if they're losing money on the supposed TV deal now, even if you lose that, you're taking a step backwards because you're not like Gary said, you're not putting it into the mass market now.
Right. YouTube is a definite thing. Everybody's got it. Everybody loves it. Everybody uses it. I know that their first foray into doing stuff like this, again, the technology wasn't there, and it was a different streaming service, was terrible, and that was the early 2000s. And it was if it didn't freeze on you, you were lucky.
Yeah, and I think
YouTube was the only thing to watch the games, right?
I think YouTube, the issue with, from what I heard was, because I remember them doing it back in the day with YouTube, but the issue was the music in the background became a copyright issue.
That was another thing, because when I'm trying to put retro games up, I go through hell trying to eliminate the songs, as they won't let it go out until they're eliminated. And they did do it, and I think it was 2015, something like that. They had the games on YouTube, and that was an issue, and a number of the games had to come down. I remember that when we were in COVID, I was using some of them as retro games to put up there just to keep people engaged. And eventually they just they disappeared. So, yeah, YouTube is very, 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 very fickle with it. Yep. Yep. That's exactly what Jamie was saying on his interview with Jake Elliott on Lax Class. Was that kind of money, you know, and everything has gone up doubled since 2010. You know, a flight that would cost $500 before is $1,000 now. A hotel room that would cost $200 is $500 now. And everything is coming out of the team. And if they're not generating revenue and not getting fans in there and not getting the dollars from a TV deal, long term, this is a sinking ship. So we have to make sure that there is a strategy in there to make sure it stays out there. The Olympics is a huge thing, though. That's going to be, you know, down the road for people to watch. But they have to use this time to their advantage and make sure that they have contingency plans for everything. Every scenario has to be thought out, and that's what needs to be done in the boardrooms now. Not in Boise, Idaho, we need an unboxed game over here, and we need to put this thing over here, and that's secondary. Really, what you need is the lifelines and how owners can make money long term. The original blueprint that Sakavitz put out of, you know, having an NBA, NHL teams owning is a great idea still, because one, they control their arenas, but two, they have their fan bases that they can always draw into, as well as being a package. You want season tickets to the Calgary Flames? Well, we have 8 Calgary Roughneck games that we need to, you know, shell into. Things like that. That's where, you know, it comes in, and why you need those kind of heavyweights in there, as well as deep pockets. They can withstand, you know, some leaner times. Absolutely. The greatest thing that happened to the NLL was Josiah in there, because what is he, part of 3 teams now?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah. Well, 2 we know for sure, and I think he's part of the Philadelphia deal since Comcast has walked away, just to keep it warm until they have an owner or move the team that will pick up the bills, right? So that's huge to have somebody like that that's that invested, let alone the money he invests into the PLL as well, you know, which also works part and part with Oliver Marty, who does that as well. So that's why it works so well, and that's why it's going to work well, PLL, NLL, because we have crossover owners and investors that are part and parcel, that make money from both succeeding. But again, it's how it gets handled all the way up until then, and how it gets handled after it's showing in the Olympics. You know, my least concern is actually how it shows in the Olympics, because I know we have a great product. And we have great people who are going to be able to be the commentators of, be the cameramen of, and all the other things that go, you know, from the control studios right on outward. I know that part of it I don't worry about. I worry about us leading in there, that we don't trip over ourselves getting in there. And I worry we don't trip coming out of the gate afterwards when we have all this interest and drop the ball because we're hemming and hawing and can't make a decision. All this has to be done in the next, I would say, in the next 12 months. And has to be ready so that we can just kind of buff and polish going into the Olympics, and then it goes. If we don't, we're going to look not like the 4th big thing. We're going to look like the fringe sport that we've always been, that we can't get out of our own way. And that would be a terrible shame, for all the people involved, because it really can be something huge.
Yeah, and let's not forget the one little extra task they need to resolve before the 28 Olympics, and that's getting the Haudenosaunee cleared to play.
Well, that's another one too, right?
Yeah.
That's another one also. And
so, because that's going to be another example of them not being able to get out of their own way when you can't allow the number 3 ranked team in the world who are the creators of the game to represent their own
we certainly
nation.
don't want another
nation,
England thing. We certainly don't want another England thing where they're just refused entry, period. Well, we're not going to have that problem with the U.S., but we are going to have, with the the IOC, and making sure that World Lacrosse is on this. And, well, we'll see. But it has to be done again. It's another one in that list for the 12 months that we're in.
Yep.
Because we can't be doing this in the year of, because there's too many other things that...
It should have been priority 1 as soon as LA was announced. As soon as it was announced that lacrosse was going to be at the 28 Olympics in LA. That should have been number 1 on the list.
Yeah, you know what? I would be okay if it didn't get played at 2026. Because it has to be involved. The creators of the game, why are we doing this? If we can't be inclusive for probably the biggest part of the game. How do you talk about the history and you don't have them part of it? That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, how do you have history when you don't include the history, right?
Well, that's it. We look like idiots, don't we? Don't we look like absolute fools? And then we're trying to explain it to people who don't know. Well, in the technicality, it's ridiculous.
Well, again, we're 2 years out now. We were talking about this when they were 4 years out.
Yep.
Okay. Memo, IOC, stop dragging your feet. This should have been the first thing on your priority list. As soon as you announced lacrosse was coming to the Olympic Games.
Absolutely.
That should have been your your very next task. What do we need to do to get the Haudenosaunee cleared to play?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, to Dawson's point about storyline, if that becomes a storyline, that's a real black eye for lacrosse. If that storyline is that Hautenosaunee's not there, but they're playing.
It's been the black eye that keeps coming. And there is no reason. The technicality is that for a country to be involved in the Olympics, and they are a sovereign country, they are recognized with their own passports. But they need to be involved in 3 sports. Well, certainly they're athletic enough that you can have them qualify in something, somewhere. Countries I can't pronounce that don't have enough people that my neighborhood has can do it. Surely Haudenosaunee can find, if it comes down to that, qualifications for 2 other sports. Well, I think we got rid of breakdancing, so we have to worry about that, right? Speaking of how silly that is, right? Yeah. Like I say, the easiest thing would be to get them to qualify in 2 other things with 2 other people. Doesn't even matter what. I'm sure somebody can box. Yeah. Somebody can wrestle. Do they need to win a gold medal? No. They need to be involved in it.
I don't know. To me, that still doesn't make sense because, what was it, 2 Summer Olympics ago? I think I think everyone remembers that guy from Tonga. Yeah, we all
Right.
remember the
Yeah.
shirtless and oiled up, and wasn't he the only representative from Tonga at that Olympic Games?
I believe he was, yeah.
I
So,
would have to look into that, but yeah, I think so.
so if that's the
But
case,
did he compete in more than one sport, though?
I'm pretty sure he didn't. I know he switched sports 4 years later, I think, to try to qualify for something else. Might have been like Taekwondo or something like that.
Hmm.
Or he might have gone from Taekwondo to something else.
Interesting.
The other thing I'm curious about too, like I don't remember what sport he was with, but even if it was like swimming, if he was in 3 different events, would that be considered 3 different sports, or is that just one sport and just 3 different categories? Again, you're getting all these technicalities, right? Like,
I mean, I'm sure if there's something that says, if it says in the bylaws 3 different
Right.
sports, that's
yeah,
probably what they mean, and not just disciplines within the same sport.
it's in the same sport. Yeah,
But needless to say, it needs to be done now. World Lacrosse needs to be part of this as well, since they're the ones that are the liaison to the IOC. And for them, they need to be on board with what's going on with the Haudenosaunee too. And everybody needs to work together is basically the point I'm coming up with. If we have rogue things going on, it's not going to work. Yes, it's definitely a book worth reading.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the conundrum, which should be resolved, but it needs to be chatted about. So let's hope that these people behind the scenes, because nothing gets negotiated in media, and if it does, it doesn't get negotiated well. So let's hope that they're doing their homework as well, so that we don't look like fools. And we don't have to be apologists for all kinds of stupid things that are going to go on. When you can already envision it, can't you? Because we've never been on the right side of this thing. We can't get out of our own way for simple things. So when you get complex issues, thank God for Ireland the last time around, who gave up their spot. World Lacrosse thing should never have come to that either.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. I'm going to guess they don't have 2 years, because you have to have some sort of Olympic qualifier.
Yeah.
In order to get your spot. I have to imagine that's at least a year before the actual games.
Well, it's the year of, right? It's the entire year beforehand.
Yeah. So really, it's a matter of this needs to get done probably by the middle of 2027.
Well, actually, Dawson, and I got it from Bob DeMarco when he was on the show. Sixes actually came to a fruition because there can only be 10,000 athletes, period, in the Olympics. That's from the IOC. Now, if you want to put lacrosse in there, you're not going to put a field team in of 24 players plus coaches plus training staff and everything else, because you're going to have 2 teams. You're not going to put a box team in there with the same kind of ideal. In order to do it, they had to think up something that was smaller. They looked at the model of rugby sevens and came up with the idea of lacrosse sixes. They can't use box because in order to keep a lot of the countries in it that may have an opportunity, they don't have arenas in Africa readily available to them, amongst other places. So fields were available. So if you made it into a smaller field and had 6 players, where you only needed to carry a dozen and coaches and things, then you could have 6 teams or whatever in your thing, because men and women, remember that too. So that's why sixes came about. Well, ice hockey's been there a lot longer. They're not trying to get in. And that's Winter Olympics as well.
Yeah, it's probably a
Or
political thing.
or it's a much wider range too. But the that came down to it, and that's why. And if you look in the archives, you can find my interview with Bob DeMarco, and we do hit on this subject. So specifically, I asked him
just
that.
knowing that IOCS could be a political thing too, because ice hockey brings in a ton of money for.
Well, yeah, you're also talking about the big sports, right? We're talking about the big three sports, and lacrosse is still a fringe sport until it becomes the fourth big sport that we're dreaming of. But again, like Jamie Dawick said, if you're not in lacrosse, nobody cares about lacrosse. If you're in it, you love it, and you want to succeed. But as part of the market share, it isn't. We need the Olympics to do it. So it's, if that's what they want, then that's what we're going to give. If we're worried about tradition, we can teach it once we show people a game. Because the initial concept of ball, stick, net is there. After that, we can teach field, box, anything you want, tradition, heritage, anything. But if we can't get them to see it because we're not going to be there. Yeah, I get it. But it's there already. Here we're working against ourselves, and we just have to conform for the time being. And this is what they want. If we want to be in there, we got to conform to what they want. We can't go in there and demanding, because they simply go, we'll put breakdancing back in, thanks. But we have a big opportunity here, a real big opportunity to use it as a real launching pad. And I really hope that all the people involved in it can use this and get this straight and get their priorities straight, and have their checklists off and everybody on the same page to do this. Because if one thing is off and the wheels fall off, yeah, I know I enjoyed it a whole lot too, but I always have YouTube for it. Thank goodness that it'll always be there, that whenever I'm blue, I can always watch and see. Yeah. I'd prefer not to, really. But I just want us to get ourselves together that we can all bask in it. And we'll work from there. Anyways, that's where we're going to leave it for this week. I just want to remind everybody that we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Thread, we're on YouTube, as well as on streampunkentertainment.com. Please check back 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day, especially now, because the news is always changing, and we have our thumbs on the pulse of the situation, where we can get you the information up close, accurate, and with guys like Dawson in our corner. And Dawson has been doing some amazing work on Twitter, getting us stories, getting everybody up to date with all things that are coming out lacrosse. So kudos, Dawson. I really appreciate all that you've done. And thank you so much for being a part of tonight's show as well. We really appreciate everything that you've added to it. That brings us to final words. Shawn, let's start with you.
Well, box lacrosse is back. Finally getting some preseason games. It's a great time. Looking forward to the rest of the preseason and kind of see how things shape out once the rosters are put together, and go Riders.
Absolutely. Mike, last words over to you.
Philadelphia Wings. If Mitch DeSnew is going to hold out, why are you not trading him? You can get pretty high value for him.
Absolutely.
In a time when you really need some value.
Thank you, Dawson. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for being part of the show. Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely. It's interesting, eh? Interesting that this is even this one is a conundrum over there. Mine is just all the nice surprises that we're seeing with some of the draft picks that have fit in immediately in all the different spots. We talked about in Calgary. We've talked about in Toronto. we've talked about in a few other cities where these players are just, it's just like clockwork, and it's heartwarming to know that this is it, and we're putting forward our strongest products that we've ever seen. So let's keep going. Remember, folks, in Canada at least, Remembrance Day is on Tuesday. Please, at 11 o'clock, take a minute just to stop and think and maybe thank all the people who passed before us for their sacrifices, that we're able to do what we want to do and able to bitch about government and all the rest of the stuff that we do, because they're able to give us our freedom. So that's it for that. We're the Poppy Proud. Next week, remember, we're at 10 a.m. Grey Cup Sunday. So Shawn is definitely going to be elsewhere come game time. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
he retire if he's lucky enough. So, or sorry, with the rest of his fans and fans, you'll wind up in Winnipeg if you could.
I wish, yeah.
But until then, remember, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. We appreciate everything every single week. And until we meet again next Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, have a great week. See y'all soon.